marginal puddles, avoid the puddles who drive the car, stay away from the flooded areas.
Well, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather we got. Wait a minute. Well, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather, whether or not. There it is.
Well, hello there, Prince George. Listeners at C for 88.7 FM. Hello, CKUW 95.9 FM in Winnipeg, CFBX 92.5 Kamloops, and Rogers television outlets on Vancouver Island, up and down now. I guess we're on Northern Vancouver Island, too. Hello, people in Northern Vancouver Island. Bet you had some crappy weather this week at times. Okay, this is the Comedeorological Report. It's your show about how much the weather sucks in Canada. What is Comedeorology? Comedeorology is the study of comedy and meteorology. Put them together because the weather is funny business. I am your host, Joey Only, world-renowned weather funny man. Yes, that's what we're here to do, is try to be comical, but talk about the weather stories of the week as best we can. So we have with us our normal panel of comedeorologists, including the star of the show himself, Frankie McDonald. We'll be talking to him in a couple minutes' time. And we do have this week a special guest. One of the special guest episodes, we got Bob Holowenko, who's one of the bosses around the area. He's a search and rescue leader in Quesnel, British Columbia, right here down the road from me. He's also one of the moderators of our weather group that we run in BC here called Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers with 38,000 people. Bob's been a long time partner in crime of mine on that project. So it's really good to have him on the show. We're going to talk to him a little bit about the search for Oakland this week. But before we do that, I think we're just going to introduce Bob to the show. And before I introduce Bob to the show, we will mention that we've also got Brandon Houck here. We got meteorologist Mark Ingalls here. We got Mike McGregor from Weather Center in Manitoba. We got Karen Richards showing up from Prince George, and Imogen Cookie Bailey, producer in Victoria. We got a full lineup of everybody. So it's going to be a great show, everybody. It's going to be a great show. We've got a hurricane hitting Florida right now as we speak, landing in shore. We got all kinds of things to talk about. It's going to be a great episode. So, but before we go into the great episode, Bob Holowenko, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Thanks for having me. I think this is my first time officially on here and not just in the comment section during your filming.
Yeah, man, it's good to see you. So just, I'm going to ask you a little overview about Quesnel Search and Rescue and, what it's like, how many people you got, kind of deal, what are you doing there in Quesnel? So,
yeah, we're a relatively small but somehow well-respected group out of Northern Caribou, Central British Columbia. We cover all the way from the Itchies to the Caribous, north most of the way to Prince George, and south down to the McAllister area. So it's a huge area that we're responsible for.
Yeah, it's like many European countries could fit in the Caribou.
Yes.
And not just that many can, but you have a wide variety of different kind of terrain and weather types that you experience.
Every type of terrain, every type of surface. At any given time, we can find rather arid stuff once we start getting a little bit to the southern edge of our boundary. Quite a bit of mountain and avalanche territory, particularly when we get towards the Caribou Mountains. Kind of the eastern boundary of our territory. Many, many, many kilometers of rivers, creeks, and shoreline. We're responsible for all inland water. So every one of those lakes, if we need to do shoreline searches, etc., that's all on us. In fact, we came pretty darn close to being called out to, I won't say which one, but one of the Bowen Lakes just today. So,
right. Okay, well, that's good that something else happened because now we have you here.
Indeed.
Yeah, and every once in a while when I go on one of my more crazy mountain adventures, I'm like, hey, Bob, by the way, got a good ally on my back pocket. We're going to be talking to Bob about the search for this. This is an amazing story. If you don't know, what happened was exactly a week ago, almost to the minute, this little girl went missing. She was 6 years old. She's about to turn 7. Went missing. She's mostly nonverbal, autistic child. She walked off. No one suspected foul play. They knew she was out there somewhere within walking distance. And after many days missing, 3 nights, this child survived. They found her. It's a great story. So we're going to have more with Bob here in a few minutes. But first, time to talk to the man himself, the world's greatest weatherman, Frankie McDonald. How you doing so far?
Frankie, the weatherman. I'm doing great so far.
All right. What do you got for us this week, Frankie?
And the weather all across And then Florida's supposed to get a lot of rain in Florida, and because of Hurricane Helene doing a lot of damage there right now.
It's landing right this moment, Frankie.
It was really, really bad hurricane down in Florida as of right now. Rain is really bad and very strong winds down Florida, doing a lot of damage. It's about to make landfall in Florida. It's going to bring heavy rain and very strong winds down the state of Florida, like Miami, Florida. And Georgia's getting 150 plus millimeters of rain, or even 300 plus millimeters of rain in some locations.
Yeah, and we just observed on radar 280-kilometer-an-hour winds, Frankie.
In Georgia, in Florida, they're getting heavy rain, and they got an atmospheric river heading for Vancouver, British Columbia. Then they got rain heading towards Nova Scotia tomorrow. Then it's going to clear up on Saturday and Sunday. It's going to bring clear skies all across eastern Canada on Saturday and Sunday. Then they got then a Helene's going to be turned into regular storm. It's going to die out. It's going to bring a little bit of rain and wind to eastern United States early next week. Then they got a lot of rain heading for Vancouver and Victoria and all those places right now. Lots of rain in Vancouver Island, including Victoria, British Columbia, and all those places. Snow up in the mountains and things like this. And warm air, cold air fighting each other this time of the year. Then they got some cold air heading for Manitoba on October 1st. Cold air is heading right for Manitoba in northern Ontario. Churchill, Manitoba is getting really cold weather, where Joel Stover is.
What is your favorite temperature? What is a perfect temperature?
180 degrees.
He's going to love that.
He's going to get really cold weather. Then he got, and pretty soon there'll be 24-hour darkness up in South Bar, Norway. Lots of rain thunderstorms going on in Mexico right now in Central America. Lots of rain thunderstorms going on in southern Mexico, including Guatemala. There's a Hurricane John hitting west coast of Mexico too.
Oh, yeah, hurricanes everywhere, Frankie.
Then lots of rain thunderstorms going on in Guatemala, Costa Rica, Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador, and Panama. Lots of rain thunderstorms going on in Colombia, Venezuela, and parts of Bolivia, parts of Ecuador, and northern Peru. It's really, really dry in northern Chile and southern Peru. Then it got really cold temperatures in southern tip of Argentina, southern tip of Chile, Santiago, Chile. It's a little bit of showers and forecast. It got cold temperatures in all across southern Chile, snow up in the mountains and rain in the coast areas. And you got snow up in the mountains in southern Chile. It's really cold there right now. So southern Argentina got a big snowstorm in for parts of southern Argentina. Then you got snow in parts of southern Argentina and Falkland Islands and all those places. There's a volcano near Glasgow, Scotland. It's inactive volcano. Lots of rain and thunderstorms. Lots of rain and wind in England right now. It's hitting Wales and Scotland, Ireland with cold temperatures. The forecast. Lots of rain in France and Germany, Denmark, and Netherlands with windy conditions, including snow up in the mountains of Norway. Then it got rain in Finland, Sweden, and all those places. And Western Russia, lots of rain in the forecast there. Then you got lots of rain in the forecast of Bosnia and Croatia and all those places and parts of Italy. Then it got in Albania and Greece and all those places. Then it got to cold front going through Turkey next week.
The eye wall of the storm is hitting land now. The eye is going to start landing pretty soon, Frankie. Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
It's happening right this second.
And then there's lots of storms coming off and goes to Japan. There's a typhoon could be aimed towards Taiwan sometime next week. Possibility might turn to the northeast into South Korea and even Japan because the rainy season's coming to an end in India and China. Lots of rain thunderstorms going on in Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, and all those places. It's really getting drier up in China. Then it got some rain in the forecast heading towards China on Monday as well. Then it got some. And Shanghai, China's getting some thunderstorms and rain from the hurricane, typhoon. Then it got some Mongolia starting to get some colder air in Mongolia. And Siberia is getting colder too. And lots of rain thunderstorms going on in Vietnam, Laos, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, and all those places right now. Up around Bangladesh and Myanmar, lots of rain thunderstorms forecast and still some lots of thunderstorms in India. Right now, the monsoon season's coming to an end there. And lots of rain and thunderstorms in Nigeria right now. In Ghana right now. It's getting drier in Sahara Desert again. Over in the Middle East. And the weather for the Middle East, like United Arab Emirates and all those places. It's really dry right now. And lots of thunderstorms forecast in Southern Sudan and Ethiopia right now. There's a whole lot of rain in forecast in southern Africa. Botswana will be in the rainy season too. Then it got some snow in the forecast heading towards parts of South Africa, up in the mountains area. Then it got some cold temperatures heading for Cape Town, South Africa as well. Then it got some really dry temperatures and some rain in the forecast in Mozambique, Madagascar, La Réunion, and Mauritius Islands, and chance of showers in forecast. In Western Australia, they got really cold temperatures aiming towards Perth, Australia, and a lot of rain in Southern Australia in the forecast. Then it got some cool temperatures. It's spring in the year there right now. Lots of thunderstorms and hail going on in Eastern Australia. They're in the severe weather season right now in Eastern Australia. They'll be getting large hail there soon enough. In New Zealand, there's a really cold temperatures and snow up in Queenstown, New Zealand. Then it got cold temperatures working on its way to Auckland, New Zealand, Wellington, New Zealand, Gisborne, New Zealand, New Plymouth, Hamilton, Gravesmount, Nelson, and Gisborne, New Zealand, and Invercargill, Queen, and Christchurch, and Dunedin, New Zealand, all those places. And it got some warm air and cold air fighting each other. There's supposed to be another big storm with a lot of rain in South Island, New Zealand, with windy conditions next week as well. Antarctica is starting to get some daylight, and up in the Arctic starting to get some darkness this time of the year.
Thank you very much for the excellent weather report, Frankie McDonald. Anybody on the panel got questions for Frankie? How about we haven't seen you for a little while, producer Imogen? What do you got for Frankie this week?
Not a whole lot. Frankie, well, actually, no, that's not true. We have a second moon coming into orbit real soon.
Yes, it's true story, second moon. It's going to be temporary moon till late November.
That's right. We're going to have a second moon. How many sharks are on it?
It's going to be a temporary moon.
Okay, but how many sharks are on it? The temporary sharks on a temporary moon in a temporary orbit. So for a little while, we're on an alien planet with alien sharks.
It could be a chance of
That's
it.
affect tides.
Yeah, that's going to affect tides.
Is it going to increase the likelihood of massive sharknadoes ripping across the berries?
That could cause that. It might have had sharks on Mars once upon a time.
Could cause that. There used to be sharks upon Mars once upon a time, maybe.
Excellent. My hopes are getting up. Don't disappoint me, Franklin. I want sharks flying through space on a second moon. That's all I got.
You can do it. Shark us. Any other questions for Frankie?
Yes, Frankie, did you cause the earthquake in Vancouver this morning?
I didn't.
You know, you answered that very quickly. I find that dubious.
I know, it sounds pretty suspicious. Did the moon sharks cause the earthquake?
Oh, now Frankie's real quiet. Real fast answer that he had nothing to do with it, and suddenly nothing to say. Frankie is very guilty.
He didn't say at all.
I did not cause that earthquake at all.
Okay. People were saying maybe Frankie had something to do with that power outage you had in Wells there.
I did not cause a power outage in Wells.
He did not cause the power outage. Actually, a tree fell on the power line, Frankie. So I knew it wasn't you all along. Any other questions for Frankie? Mike McGregor.
Yeah, did you cause the lightning and the hurricane in Hurricane Helen? There's a whole bunch of lightning right now by the eye wall.
Warn people to get them prepared.
Frankie did make a great video this week on getting prepared for the hurricane, and we're going to watch it in a little while tonight.
That's right. Frankie's videos are critical infrastructure in preparing for hurricanes.
It's true.
Then
it's
it got
critical
another
infrastructure
snow
for the
event in
show.
parts of South Africa.
Snow in South Africa. That one is on the queue as well, Frankie. We better move it along. We got a lot of people here tonight, so we better get to the Brandon Hauk report real quick here. Brandon Hauk. The Brandon Hauk report.
The Brandon Hauk report.
Oh, hi. This is the Brandon Hauk report.
Ooh, boy. What a week it's been. I think this is the first time I've sat down for the last 48 hours, I think. Yeah.
How was Calgary?
Oh, Calgary was awesome. It was really hot there yesterday when I got out there, and I left today, and it was kind of damp, cool, rainy, but still good enough to wear shorts, you know, just waltzing down the downtown core, looking mighty fine, you know.
I like to think you were literally waltzing, because that's how I picture you. That is how I envision you, is doing an actual literal waltz.
Oh, yeah. Arms moving around, you know, just excellent. Oh, yes. Yes. I was, I actually had to put pants on last night because I was at a awards banquet there, but it was great. I had a little too many toddies last night, but you know, that's the way it goes. Anyways, now on into the weather side of things, because Well, this week has been quite all over the place here in the area, with temperatures the other day getting up into the 30s. Actually, yesterday, low 30s, but we didn't quite break the record high because the record high was 34 degrees back in 2009. So sadly, no record for us, but we did get up to like 31, 32 degrees. So hot weather, and then that cooled down dramatically last night into today with the showers blasting through, some thunder and lightning in a few locations there. And now, temperatures are going to warm back up again thanks to the low pressure on the Pacific coast that's going to pump that Pacific air mass our way. So we'll get back to the mid to upper 20s for Friday, the 27th of September. And then we cool right back down again for the weekend, especially as we go into Sunday there. Temperatures back to the teens and then back up again for next week. So that's the typical fall roller coaster ride for the prairies is definitely on. No doubt about that. Now, oh boy, these are good jokes tonight. Okay. Prepare yourselves. Here we go.
We'll be the judge of that.
Are they good?
Oh, yeah, they're pretty good.
That doesn't sound confident.
Don't sound confident. Okay, so we got two good zingers here. Here we go. First one is, as you know, you probably know, it's National Dog Week, and reply was from the dogs. Thanks, that we'd like to keep a low profile to the dogs in Springfield, Ohio. There. Oh yeah, little Springfield, Ohio, with the dogs there. Now,
there used to be dogs there.
used to be. Now this one, the average, I found out this week, I saw this study here. The average woman spends about 3 to 5 hours during the week in a bad mood. The other 2 hours spent talking on the phone with her sister. So,
thank you, the Brandon Houck report.
I think I am going to make my wife listen to this one because that describes her.
Thanks, Brandon.
We were going to go to Bob next.
You're welcome.
But I think, Mark, while we have you, let's go back to the subject real quickly of Hurricane Helene. It's making landfall this minute.
Yeah. Okay, so Hurricane Helene is making landfall in Florida. We're recording this Thursday, September 26th. It is 7:19 p.m. on the Pacific coast. The eye wall is on shore now, the northeast eye wall. The northeast eye wall is the worst place to be in a hurricane, and that's because not only do you have the wind going around the eye, but you also amplify it with that forward motion. This hurricane, I just saw the latest update is 225 kilometer an hour sustained winds. Gusts are higher than that, so it's a high end it's a mid-range category 4. I don't think it's going to hit category 5 before it makes landfall here.
It's going to make landfall any minute now. It's
well, yeah, the eye wall's on shore. Let me just switch my radar here.
There's a new scan just came in this second, and basically the
it's right
eye
there.
itself now is like it's hugging the shoreline.
It's on the beach. Yeah. Anyone who is unfortunate enough to be on the beach there to the south of Perry, they're going to be seeing stars here before too long. This is a nighttime landfall, which are the most dangerous because you can't see anything. We were talking in the pre-show. They're looking at storm surge on the order of 5 to 8 meters. Storm surge is a localized rise in sea level. It's not a wave that's coming in. The wind has literally pushed the water up. So if you can imagine that you got your bowl of Cheerios and you've eaten the Cheerios and you still got your milk and you blow on the bowl, the milk on the other side will be higher than on the side that you're blowing on because you push that milk physically towards the other side. This is what the storm surge is, just on a much larger scale. So 5 to 8 meters, this means that any building below 8 meters above sea level is going to be inundated with water. And this does not include the waves from the wind on top of that water, because we are literally raising the Gulf of Mexico. There's going to be huge waves on top of it. There was a report from a buoy southwest of Tampa earlier today with 8-meter waves, not storm surge. So this is a very, very high-end system. And as it moves forward into Georgia, the storm is moving very fast, something like 30 kilometers an hour. this is very fast for a hurricane, and because of that, it's going to keep its hurricane status like halfway into Georgia. Georgia's a big state, obviously not as big as any of the provinces are, but like we're talking about there are hurricane warnings in the Atlanta metro area, and Atlanta is nowhere near the ocean. It's just moving this fast.
It won't
Heavy
have
rain.
time to die before it makes it there.
Well, that's exactly right. And the heavy rain is being observed from Florida into Georgia into the Carolinas and Tennessee. Parts of North Carolina, this is going to be like, this is their worst case scenario. Western North Carolina, which is far away again from the Gulf of Mexico where the storm is coming, are looking at 300 millimeters of rain or more. This is going to be the record-setting flood for places like Asheville. This is just an incredible system. It's the worst case scenario. This part of Florida for a long time was thought that it couldn't get major hurricanes because of the orientation of the coast. Then we had Hurricane Michael in 2018. That was a Category 5 at landfall. A hurricane last year, I forget the name. And now this one this year. So the building codes in this part of Florida are actually not as good in the rest of Florida. If we had this size of a storm hitting somewhere like Miami, the buildings would fare better because the building codes are better there. They've improved the building codes since then, but 90% of buildings were not built in the last 4 or 5 years. So this is really the big story. And I do want to touch on real quick, we do have a hurricane force low pressure system making landfall in Haida Gwaii tonight. It's raining here in Surrey because of that, and I think Imogen's getting some rain. It's pretty windy there, Bob was saying where he's at. And this is a really big system, but the difference is hurricanes are driven by their own heat. Okay, so you get hot moisture coming off of the ocean, and that on its own creates the hurricane. Whereas in our neck of the woods here in British Columbia and in all of Canada, like, we get the remnants of hurricanes in the maritime provinces, but the majority of storms here are driven by cold and warm air fighting against each other. So that's why we have things like cold fronts and warm fronts in our weather systems.
And they can be very strong. What these are called mid-latitude cyclones for a reason. They can be very strong.
Well, yeah, like I said, this is a hurricane force storm making landfall in Haida Gwaii tonight, and then it'll come into the mainland here, kind of south of Prince Rupert. So this is a pretty dynamic situation here as well. It's been a busy day. I'm going to forego my Canadian weather history because there's just so much going on. Earlier this morning, we had an earthquake here in the Lower Mainland. It was centered south of Sydney Island, which is north of Victoria, there in the Gulf Islands. 4.0 is what it registered as. It was at 4:05 a.m. A depth of 52 kilometers. And so what's really interesting about this earthquake is instead of being in the North American tectonic plate, it was actually in the Juan de Fuca plate, which is under the North American plate here. The Juan de Fuca plate going under North America is what creates the volcanoes in southern BC, Washington, Oregon, and down to Mount Shasta and Lassen Peak in California. But it also creates earthquakes. So as the plate that's below North America goes down, it bends downwards into the mantle. And that bending will create fractures in the rock and create earthquakes. So 4.0 there, I was actually in the shower when this happened because I start work early. And it is not fun to be in the shower during an earthquake, in case anyone was wondering. And so my shower, like many showers, the floor is fiberglass. And I've been in earthquakes before, and it's kind of like a crude jolting is the earthquakes that I've experienced. But this, because it's fiberglass that I was standing on, it like had a disconcerting wobble. I was like, what? It only lasted for a few seconds, and then a few minutes later, my wife comes in and she's like, she shows me her phone when it shows the earthquake, and she's like, "Is this what I just felt?" So it was. I heard a lot of people woke up. I heard Imogen did not wake up, despite being right next to the epicenter. That's really disappointing, Imogen.
Right?
You'll have to do better.
You know what? The funny thing about that is like there's earthquakes happen here all the time, but this place, it's like living on a sponge. There was absolutely no movement in my apartment, but the neighbors in a different building, yeah, the walls were shaking. Some of them slept through it. Some of them woke up and panicked. Others were already awake and slept in days and were terrified that they were just going crazy. But yeah,
Yeah, well, and you told them that they were, right?
oh, of course. I told them that their house was haunted, and that's what it was. It was that they pissed off the undead. So,
Well, it is spooky season here at the Ingalls house, so might as well. But this earthquake was pretty exciting. It's the fifth earthquake I felt. The 6.8 Nisqually earthquake in 2001 that was centered south of Tacoma in Washington. I lived 10 kilometers from the epicenter there. It was felt in the lower mainland, but it caused significant damage in Seattle. And that I bring that up because that earthquake was similar to this one in that it originated out of the plate below the North American plate. That one was another one. I think it was 57 kilometers deep or something like that. And I just want to add briefly, this earthquake does not increase the risk of the big one happening on the Juan de Fuca plate. Like we will have eventually a 9.0 earthquake that strikes the west coast of North America. This earthquake does not increase that risk. The last time that happened was January of 1700. We know this because of tsunami records from Japan. And there have been thousands of earthquakes. There have been hundreds of earthquakes just this year off Vancouver Island, which is normal. Okay, I want to be very clear that's normal. Think of how many tens of thousands of earthquakes there have been near the Juan de Fuca plate, both onshore and offshore, in the last 324 years. This earthquake is not going to be the one to trigger it, okay? Again, the big one will not be caused by any small earthquake that happens nearby, including this morning's earthquake. There was also no tsunami threat because it was too small, and it is not going to trigger any of the volcanoes. It's not an isolated event, but it is not enough to trigger any of the cataclysmic events that we risk here in the lower mainland.
Bob Holowenko's here. He was part of this amazing search that happened this last weekend, and people want to know a little bit about that. So Bob was telling us in the pre-show that 600 people took part in this. So Bob, can you walk people through what you can say about the search for Oakland? I know in the pre-show you've already hit on it, but this is showtime.
Absolutely. So obviously I do have to be a little bit careful about the types of things I say. So everything I talk about will be public domain, posted by the family, media, et cetera already. So nothing really to learn here as far as details about that task or that search, but I can definitely talk about how certain things had an impact on it. So yeah, we had an amazing outpouring of support of people from the communities surrounding the area in which she went missing, a community south of Burns Lake. So about 600 individuals checked in each day, or we call it operational period, from the general community. That doesn't include the searchers, the provincial employees that were part of it, the federal employees that were part of it. We really did absolutely see a massive inrush of people to go find a 6-year-old young lady that had run away. Just a situation where she just darted from where she was at the time and ended up in the woods. And a lot of people showed their love and support for her by showing up to spend a weekend really beating through some seriously thick bush out there.
Yeah, and it's amazing. She spent 3 nights out there. And the first night you said it got down to as low as -4.
So -4 was reported to us by a resident who lives on South Side, which is the south side of Francois Lake. So as we were coming in, those of us that were in the probably $1 million worth of Arc'teryx jackets that showed up, we had a lot of people just come directly to us to talk because they knew, we were A, captive on the ferry, and B, there for the same reason they probably were. And so some of the locals who greeted us let us know that the first night that this young lady was out there, it dipped down to -4 degrees on one of the homeowners' personal weather stations on their deck. So we saw very large influence from weather. We knew that somebody who, in the public profile that was listed of her, she was somewhere between 70 and 80 pounds. Those of you who have seen the pictures of her coming out that were posted by the family might estimate that that's probably a little on the high side. I would say she's a little more slender than that. So, that's a really small body to try keep warm overnight, because of the fact that she was out on a trampoline at the time. She didn't have shoes on. She was just not ready for the weather. And the fact that she survived, darn it, she one tough cookie.
Yeah. I know, I was sitting when I saw the mom's video. This happened exactly a week ago tonight. The next day, the mother put a video out, and I saw it, and I bawled my eyes out. And I'm sure a lot of people in BC had the same response. What was the feeling amongst people when she was found?
Well, everybody was absolutely elated. Like, to hear that she was found was just pure relief. Finding out that that she was fine and healthy was absolutely the cherry on top. The parents were amazing. The mother, Gail, and the father were just, they were present throughout the whole time, definitely sharing every single piece of information they could about their daughter. So my heart goes out to them. That's, as a parent myself, as the parent of, and it's publicly released, but she was on the autism spectrum. So that's a further complication that makes everything a little more difficult. And so, as somebody, without telling too much about myself, I also have a child in that age range. I also have a child who is on the spectrum herself, as well as, my eldest daughter's best friend happens to share the first name with the subject. So, for me personally, there was a lot of heart in it. There was a real reason that when that phone call came in, I called work and said, "Hey, like it or not, I'm disappearing." And of course, my manager and my entire company, when we say something like that, nobody pushes back. They understand what I do, what my team does, and what really a community needs to do.
Yeah, and it just shows, put that effort in and go find these people, because if they want to survive, they've got a good chance. And I understand that when you're saying pre-show, people who want to survive. When I was in Air Cadets and went through survival instructor school, and one of the things the very first thing we talked about was psychology. And at the time there had been a CF aircraft that had crashed, a CC-130 Hercules up in Alert area, if you recall, 1991, I think it was. And it crashed not too far from the base, but the blizzard conditions were so bad that, good luck finding them for a couple of days. And quite a few people ended up freezing to death. The captain ended up giving his coat to somebody, which is a give up move, and he died. Meanwhile, the wings of the airplane were not far away, but had inside them inflatable life rafts. And there was something that happened in that, the psychology of that accident that needed to be talked about afterwards, right? How many more could have survived? So, question for you, Bob, just on that topic, on the psychology of surviving.
One of the things that we focus on with search and rescue when we're profiling a subject, or a subject is just another term for the person we're looking for, the subject of our search. We look at something called the willingness to live. Are we dealing with somebody who is a survivalist that is confident in their own abilities? Are we looking at somebody who is in a mentally altered state? Are we looking for somebody who is maybe in a position where they've put themselves out there intentionally, some kind of, despondent, or, something along those lines? There's a lot of factors that we need to consider. And we do find, research has found, as well as if anyone's looking for a good piece of scientific material, Dr. Robert Coster has a book called Lost Person Behavior. And it basically says, mindset has a direct correlation to a person's survival, at what point in which they're found, how they're found, sort of the nature of the items that they're doing at the time they are found. There's been people found because they were heard pushing trees down to start a fire, right? So there's all kinds of psychology type items that we have to think about when developing our tactics and trying to figure out how we're going to find this person.
Yeah, have a positive attitude. Calm yourself down. Take the panic out of it and see where you are for what it is.
SAR people, we are just ridiculously stubborn in our hopefulness, right? We watched as the weather was definitely not on our side with low temperatures, rain, very high and cold humidity. Yet we remained positive just because of who we are, I guess, right? Like when the science says, and when you're looking for somebody who is quite frail and may not necessarily have survival instinct, we just couldn't stop thinking positive thoughts because that's just sort of who SAR people are. We know we're out there for a reason. And those dark thoughts might creep in, but if you've been doing this for a while, you know better, right? It's just not good for our mental health to really let sort of that gallows humor leach in. So there's always such a positive and hopeful mindset within the SAR community during one of these very tough searches.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that because in so many emergency responders, they talk about gallows humor being a healthy part of the job.
Oh, it's definitely a coping mechanism. That's for sure.
Oh, I'm bad for it. Like straight up. So so first you have, the weather is this big factor here in BC. You got topography, you got different kinds of weather. You could have the desert. You could be, if you're in Williams Lake, you could have the rainforest here in the Caribou Mountains. You could be up in the Alpine. There's a lot of different kinds of terrain here. So you have the weather is this huge thing that's going to impact both you and the subject you're looking for.
Absolutely. So a couple of things that we need to think about is when we first put down on the ground, what is going to be our initial response? Typically out of the gate, we like to use our trackers. So trackers are people that are skilled in looking for human sign. Can they see that, hey, somebody has moved through this ground? Have they left some form of signature on the ground? We call it a print or a signature print even, that is incredibly clear that it's them. That could be something like, hey, this guy always, as he walks by spruce boughs, will snap the tip off, right? Like some people just kind of have a breadcrumb trail they leave behind them. And so we're looking for things like that. But when looking at sign, particularly when you're going from maybe a period of dry to wet or wet to dry, there's all kinds of considerations regarding the aging of that sign, the destruction of that sign, the type of material that we're standing on. Like you said, we've got everything from rainforest around us in like the what do they call that? The enchanted forest or ancient forest towards the north and a few other spots. We've got very arid areas. We've got pretty much everything that BC can offer within our region. So we have to be able to recognize sign in so many different, I guess, like ecologies or in so many different terrain types. So it becomes a bit of a challenge. So we need to factor in things like the aging of the sign and how weather can have an impact on it. Even things like sun exposure. What has it been today? Has it been incredibly overcast, or has something on the ground been baking, right? Like, so if we go from wet to dry, we might have a print absolutely beautifully preserved because it's now sitting there and untouched. Or we could have the transverse where we've had a dry spell followed by, a very unwelcome wet period that could end up destroying or at least softening certain types of sign.
Well, I could think of, many examples of tracking something I'm good at. It's part of my jobs, right? And, grizzly bear, big grizzly bear print. And the guy's like, oh my God, this big grizzly bear print in our line. And, I look at it, I'm like, that's 2 weeks old. I know it looks good.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice and solid. It's perfect print, perfectly preserved, but we haven't had rain in 2 weeks. And, that's a hardened, you can learn a lot just by really paying attention to all the little details, right? Bob, these are really great things. Does anyone in the panel have any questions they'd like to ask Bob? We still need to kind of get through everyone in the panel, but we got a little sidetracked tonight because the hurricane story is so big. Mike, you got a question for Bob?
Yeah, you said you work with people, know people are in the autism spectrum. Is it harder to find those people who may be on that? Or do you find that you connect with them better? Because I'm on the spectrum as well.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do happen to have more subjects who are on the spectrum than are not, and that's because elopement, or running away from an emotional response, a startle, etc., is significantly more frequent on the autism spectrum. In fact, there's entire studies going into that right now. The biggest challenge is when we start to get into the nonverbal portion of the autism spectrum, because one of the search types we do is essentially echolocation, right? We will yell out someone's name, and if they do not echo back, or if they do not reply, like, "Oh, hey, I'm over here," right? Then that means that tactic, or that technique that we're using, may not be as successful. So we will then look at other tactics, such as like a tighter grid search. I won't go into like what we classify them as, like type 1, type 2, etc., but where you're essentially walking through and you can do fingertip to fingertip, right? So certain tactics will be used based on that subject profile and what for us would give the highest likelihood to locate that specific subject and that specific subject type.
Yeah, you find some people like myself we're just so crazy that we get into that situation. We're too stubborn to really accept that we're not going to win. So sometimes being a little crazy is good.
Yeah, sometimes people don't necessarily know when they're in trouble. We've seen a few cases that could have been avoided had it not been for, without going into specifics, what I would call toxic masculinity, where maybe calling for help was a little too much of an ego hit, or maybe too much of a pride hit. So the call for help came far too late. And
that was long after the refusal to ask for directions.
Way past that. Yeah. The directions were next to the instructions on how to operate it.
We'll come back to you. We only got a few minutes here, Bob.
Absolutely.
Imogen, your weather this week. Mike, your weather this week. Karen, your weather this week. Let's hear it quickly. 1, 2, 3. Imogen, let's go with you first.
Rainy, damp, gray. Yep, it's gray season here, so that's what we got. Rainy, damp, gray. The end.
It never seems to break you down.
No, I love it. If we'd have like some nice storms, that'd be a refreshing change. But no, just rainy, damp, gray.
I like to see a picture of the coast weather and I get depressed.
I have a question for Bob. Has he ever had to do search and rescue for people in forest fires, or in situations where a forest fire is approaching like a specific town or disaster scenarios? That kind of stuff intrigues me.
We have basically just folks that were out on the land at the time that a large wind change happened and a fire began to run in the area in which they were recreating. Those are tough because we can't necessarily put resources in there.
Karen, have you and Bob met? You've been co-moderating Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers for many years.
We have not ever met. No.
Hey,
virtual
Karen,
handshake.
Richards.
Hello, Bob.
Hello.
You've talked in the group chats. Here's your.
We have talked in the group chats.
So, Karen, still rating up there in Prince George right now.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna, go with rainy, wet, hail. Amazing, quick little thunder and lightning storm last night. Yeah, we've had a little bit of everything. Oh, major frost this morning. That was not fun.
Hey, Karen, down in Australia, they'll be getting a lot of hail soon because it's Southern Hemisphere spring.
Well, they can keep it down there, Frankie, because I don't want it yet.
It's their severe weather season there. That's their time of the year. And December 21st, their summer begins.
Mike, I'm looking at reported temperatures right now, and it must be dark in Winnipeg, but it's 24 degrees I'm seeing at the airport.
It is 24 degrees here, and you will not believe it, but we got up to 30 degrees this afternoon. Western Manitoba, just west of Winnipeg, they got up to 32 to 34 degrees. We had a strong south wind all day. It was blowing things around. Apparently, this is our warmest September, or second warmest September on record. Summer does not want to let up. I was in shorts today, and even in shorts, I was sweating. I was kind of surprised because 2 mornings ago we had almost like frost. People had to turn on their heaters. The good news is I see this temperature trend for those wanting fall. That's going to end on probably October 1st. I heard Frankie mention that earlier. Temperatures back down to the teens. I even saw it dropping down to 13, but it has been warm, mild, sunny, hot, and the last rain we had was last Wednesday during a thunderstorm. It looked like night in the middle of the afternoon. So if you want the prairie heat, we have it, but I don't know how long it's going to last for. But I do believe we have an extended summer. I'll take it over cold and snow any day. But yeah, it's going to be like 27 degrees. For the listeners on the radio, it's going to be 27 degrees tomorrow, which is Friday. And then Monday, around 20 degrees. And then a drop of temperatures around Tuesday and Wednesday. Just going to confirm that. Yeah, it's staying hot right through till Monday, and then it's down to 15 on Monday.
The show airs on Monday in Winnipeg, so you'll be hearing this just in time for that good weather to be a memory. Frankie McDonald, what noise would you like Bob Holowenko to make?
Like a helicopter.
Okay, Bob, let's hear your helicopter.
So normally I'm jumping out of those to work on either SAR radio repeaters or to go into places where they shouldn't. So get back in here.
Yeah. There's the inside of the helicopter is a very different sound than the outside, right? The outside's a very whereas the inside's like it's a different sound. I didn't get one heli flight this summer.
I wanted to thank for you having Bob on today. It's a really interesting segment, and I think maybe we could have him on again sometime. But I appreciate it. It was really interesting today.
Yeah, Bob is awesome. Yeah, shortwave radio enthusiast. Unfortunately, Gary, Caribou Outlaw, is at the Elvis concert in Williams Lake tonight and not watching the live stream. He's Gary Semenov. He's a ham radio operator guy. He's hoping to be able to hear you, but no, Elvis is important. So, Frankie, I got some videos right now.
Yes.
Are you ready to watch some Frankie videos, buddy?
Yes, I'm absolutely ready.
I'm totally ready. You made so many good videos this week. I got 4 Frankie videos lined up, okay? Oh, and Bob points out North Thompson's up 6 feet in the past few days. That is insane.
Yeah, that's from Kevin Deckert, just north of Clearwater. Mentioned that to me today.
That is insane.
1 foot more than spring runoff. Yeah.
That shows just how heavy it's been pounding in the Caribou Mountains and the region. I mean, a lot of that rainfall yesterday went straight up to other side of the mountains from me right here, McBride area. Yeah.
Robson.
Somehow we didn't get the worst of it. It was great.
And I got something else to say. Hurricane warning, earthquake warning, hurricane warning, earthquake warning. This is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Hurricane Helene is now headed towards northern Florida on Thursday, September 26, 2024. It's going to bring up to 30 plus millimeters of rain, especially in central Florida and Tallahassee, Florida. It may affect Orlando, Florida, Jacksonville, Florida. It's going to bring damaging winds and very strong wind stacks. It's going to bring down power lines and snapper tree branches and half. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in northern Florida, especially in Tallahassee, Florida, and parts of Jacksonville, Florida, if possible, including it may affect Orlando, Florida, and the Florida Panhandle. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain. There'll be big waves crashing on beaches, shores in Florida. They'll be bringing down power lines, snapper tree branches, half that could cause sewers to back up the streets in Florida. That's going to trigger flooding. It's going to bring power outages. I heard it's going to bring a whole lot of rain in northern Florida on Thursday, September the 26th, 2024. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in northern Florida, including Tallahassee, Florida, and the surrounding areas. It may affect Jacksonville, Florida, Orlando, Florida, surrounding areas as well. People in northern Florida, be prepared. Have your rubber boots ready, raincoats ready, have your rain tools ready. When to go outside and ready rain gear, ready your rubber boots, ready raincoats to keep it dry. Stay away from the beaches and don't go near shores. Order your pizzas and order your Chinese food. Buy cases of Pepsi, buy cases of Coke. Do your grocery shopping. Don't wait till last minute. Do it right now. Make sure your smartphones, cell phones, laptops, tablets charged. Have a 3G, 4G, 5G, and LTE internet ready as well. Make sure your bolts ready. Just in case a major flooding happens. Make sure to have your medical kits ready, emergency kits ready, flashlights, candles, crank up radio, extra batteries, generators, battery operated lanterns, and bottled water ready as well for people living in northern Florida. Make sure you have your mobile internet ready as well in Tallahassee, Florida. It may affect parts of the state of Georgia as well. If you have anybody living in northern Florida, stay indoors. So don't go inside when the hurricane gets worse. Be prepared for Hurricane Helene on Thursday, September 26th, 2024. Take care. Stay safe. Don't get caught in Hurricane Helene. Don't drive a car to the flood. Avoid the flood when you drive a car. Don't drive a car to the puddles either. That Helene's going to be retired. Possible.
I think you got your forecast big time.
Okay,
right.
guys, let's dance.
Okay, the guy's dancing.
Dancing.
The arms up to the move. Arms and feet.
Here
arms
comes the helicopter now. Oh my god, the helicopters are after me.
Oh, he's doing it. He's making the helicopter sound and being a helicopter. I have a new favorite Frankie video. He's spinning. He's like the propeller of a helicopter, just going around and around there. Frankie McDonald. Not only the best weatherman in the world, he's also one of the funniest people.
Oh dear Lord, he's gonna throw up.
You can see he's struggling so hard now.
He's not going to lose his balance. He's wearing New Balances.
Thanks for watching right now.
Yo, I think we just saw the MASH crew.
This is Frankie McDonald, my own team station live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Heavy snow is headed towards South Africa on Saturday, September 28, 2024. It's going to bring a lot of snow, especially up at higher elevation. Since cold air and cold winds is coming all the way from Antarctica. Cold air is coming all the way from the south. It's going to reach Cape Town, South Africa. There's going to be snow and rain there in Cape Town, South Africa, and parts of Johannesburg, South Africa. With rain in the forecast is going to bring lots of snow up in the mountains in South Africa, including Cape Town, South Africa. Since the cold air has come all the way from Antarctica, it's going to affect eastern South Africa, including Johannesburg, South Africa. I want every single person in South Africa to be prepared for cold weather and snow in the forecast. It's going to bring lots of snow in the forecast. Since the cold air is coming all the way from Antarctica, it's going to reach Cape Town, South Africa, and the surrounding areas as well. It's going to bring lots of snow and rain, including south coast of South Africa, including Cape Town, South Africa. Be prepared. Make sure to wear your warm clothes. Drink lots of green tea, white tea, red tea. Drink lots of green tea to keep you warm. Make sure you have your shovels, snow scoops, snow blowers, snow plows, salt trucks ready for people living in South Africa, especially in higher elevation. Since the cold air is coming all the way from Antarctica, it's going to reach Cape Town, South Africa, and Johannesburg, South Africa, surrounding areas as well. If everybody living in South Africa, be prepared for heavy snow on Saturday, September 28, 2024. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in heavy snow. Stay warm and be safe. This is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Volcanoes possibility erupted on near Glasgow, Scotland on Friday, September 27, 2024. It's going to bring a lot of volcanic ash up in the sky and lava will flow around. I want everyone in Glasgow, Scotland, near the volcano area to get away from volcano. Get the far away from volcano as you can, because there's a possibility volcano erupted on Friday, September 27, 2024. You'll be warned for people living in volcano area near Glasgow, Scotland. Stay away from the volcano as you can. For people living in Glasgow, Scotland, don't go near the volcano because there's a possibility volcano going to erupt on Friday, September 27, 2024. Be prepared. Stay away from the volcano. Get away from the volcano as you can, because it could be a lot of lava and things like this. Be prepared. Be safe.
A crazy volcano going to happen there, Frankie. I didn't know that. So you broke me, Frankie. My character is not supposed to laugh on the show, man. Look what you did. You made me laugh. It's supposed to make me laugh, man. It's supposed to be serious. At least
You know what?
that
I really appreciate Frankie's optimism and our viewer base in South Africa. He's speaking to a very specific audience, and I like his optimism that we have that as a viewer base, that's our audience. Good job, Frankie.
People aren't aware we're huge in South Africa.
Yep.
It's been a really good show this week.
Do they understand our English? I'm sure there's people that understand English down there.
Afrikaans. We have a lot of Afrikaans doctors in Quesnel.
22 national languages, and English is one of them. So yes,
they're huge.
Yep.
Yeah, they have the multilingual thing. We're like, we got two, we're proud of it. Like, we're a multilingual country. We'll just ignore all First Nations language. We're 2 languages officially, No, South Africa, it's like, no, 500 languages.
22 national.
We'll take more.
And we can hardly handle the accents across Canada.
And I swore when I come west, I'd never lose my Ottawa Valley accent.
Well, I'm going to have to come on one of these days with my Australian accent and my Western accent, but we'll save that for another stream.
If you want to follow me on social media, my blue sky is at Frankie MacD. My ex formerly known as Twitter is at Frankie MacD. My link tree is Frankie MacDonald. My Facebook is Frankie MacDonald. My Instagram is Frankie MacD94. My TikTok is FrankDonald94. My Clapper is FrankDonald94. My Twitch is FrankDonald94. My Snapchat is FrankieMZDON. My YouTube channel is Dogs Who and my LinkedIn is Frankie MacDonald. Best of luck to you. I'm Frank Donald. You're listening to Comedeorological Weather Report every Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Atlantic.
Yeah, I come west and I heard how people was talking here, and it's like, hey, how's it going there? And he's like, oh, it's very nice here in Vancouver. And I was like, that's it. I'm never talking like a West Coaster. Never going to happen. Not doing it. So keep your accents, folks. It's a good thing. Good thing to have. Well, that's been another good show here in the Comedeorological Report.
That's the show.
That's the show. We got a minute and a half. We got a minute and a half, Frankie. It's been a good show. We had a special guest, Bob Holowenko, here. We had star of the show, as usual, Frankie MacDonald. We had producer Imogen here. We had also Weather Watchers moderator Karen Richards here. We had Brandon Houck here. We had Michael McGregor here. We had Mark, the meteorologist, here with his fantastic report on the hurricane. It's been a really fantastic show, everybody. Thank you, listeners at C for 88.7 FM, CKUW 959 FM, and CFBX 925 FM. Thank you, Rogers Television. I'm glad that we're being seen on even more stations in Vancouver Island. That's really great. We love it. We love it. We want to be your show. So keep coming back. Keep watching. I'm Joey Only. That's the show this week, I think. I think that's about the show. It's almost the show.
That's the show.
Good night, guys and gals.
Well, we still got the post show if you're on the live stream here, and you can always make sure if you're on Thursday night at 7 p.m., you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to turn into Joey Only Caribbean Weather Dude YouTube channel, and I'm going to catch the show live, and you can ask questions in the chat. And we didn't really answer those questions, but we'll look at them now that we're still having the live stream will be going on, even though the show is not. You can also find the show at all places where they have podcasts now available. You can find us at all those places. Okay, that is the show.
And it's the show.
Well, I wish I could take all my friends and all loose ends, all the way to Louisiana. We put it down mile after mile. We'll take my Jeep and we'll party in style. Louisiana bound, all of us in my Jeep, me and all my friends. Louisiana bound. And I'd like to take the old folks all the way to Louisiana. They can sit in the back and tell jokes all the way to Louisiana. Kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews all the way to Louisiana. Brothers, sisters, cousins too. Louisiana bound, all of us in my Jeep, me and all my friends. Louisiana bound. I take ex-wives and old girlfriends all the way to Louisiana. Mistresses and one-night stands all the way to Louisiana. And you know I'll take my darling sweet all the way to Louisiana. She can
Sit on my lap in the driver's seat.